Reports say President Trump is considering a potential U.S. military strike on Iran after he posted yesterday demanding Iran's unconditional surrender. Joining us right now is retired four-star Army General Wesley Clark, who served as NATO's Supreme Allied Commander for Europe. He's the chairman and CEO of Wesley K. Clark, an associates consulting firm. And sir, thank you for being with us today. General Clark, how do you read all of the signs that we've all been trying to get our arms around and figure out what's happening here?
Well, I think it's not so much a matter of reading the signs. It's a matter of trying to think through the right way to do this. As your previous panel pointed out, we've had numerous failures in this before. So I think you can't get mesmerized by looking at aircraft and sorties and what happens if a pilot gets shot down and all the military details. I know they're fascinating to the public. The issue is, what's the end state and how do you get there? So it seems to me we're approaching a period of maximum diplomatic leverage. Hopefully that behind the scenes, someone is applying that leverage against the Iranians in direct conversations that are not public. We did this in Kosovo. We bombed for about 3 weeks. We then started the negotiations. It took another 4 weeks. Israel's got the momentum. Israel's going to be able to use hard bombs and not missiles, so they got plenty of ordnance on it. And you've got to keep the option of the U.S. strike alive. To do that, Israel has to shift from the nuclear to working against the Iranian deterrent forces that would strike the United States or block the Strait of Hormuz. So it's time to go after the short-range missiles, those boats that the Iranian Navy uses, where the mines are stored before they're released. Take all that out. We know where it is. Maybe the Israelis do too. We can certainly share that intelligence. And as we ramp up that pressure, we have behind-the-scenes dialogue, and it's like a live and let live. You open up, you say to the Iranians, you open up all your nuclear facilities. You're going to lose them all. You're going to take them all out. We won't change the regime. That's up to you. If you need energy, we'll be happy to supply you our nuclear reactors. You pay for them with your gas and oil, and you work with us. It would be a feasible way to go in. And I would strongly encourage the administration not to simply go in and use a couple of B-2s and try to bomb that big plant that's deep underground. That's not going to get us where we want to be. You've got to think about this thing from working backwards planning. What's the desired end state? If you've got an alternative government and you can really get regime change, and you're pretty sure that government is going to give up all the nuclear secrets and work with the West and its neighbors, great. I don't think there's that plan in place. I don't think those people are in place. We do have a pro-Western population in much of Iran. That's a good asset for us. The regime is weak, but I would certainly be working two paths parallel. The military path to take out their ability to retaliate if and when we do intervene, and that's the targets along the Gulf, and second, the diplomatic path to try to work some kind of a live and let live in which they renounce their hatred of Israel and the United States, and in return we say, you're going to keep your supreme leader.
I think that certainly sounds like a good idealistic place to begin, but how likely do you think it is that this regime would not only give up its nuclear ambitions, but also change its entire code that it's had to this point with, death to Israel, death to the United States?
Depends on how desperate they really are. And obviously, they're not desperate enough yet. So, but look, the momentum is on Israel's side. And they've got to keep this campaign going. You can't expect you're going to get an easy end result. When we went after Serbia in 1999, many of my European friends are saying, well, I'm sure they're going to surrender after a day or two, right, because of NATO. But they didn't. They hung in there. They hung in there. And it was tough for them to give up on Kosovo. This is a much tougher proposition. There's got to be a more pain inflicted by the Israeli strikes, and they've got to recognize there is no way out for the regime, and then they will adopt something like a live or let live as a last choice. If they want martyrdom regime, they'll get it.
A live or let live scenario. Look, it's been pointed out that when Gaddafi did that in Libya in 2003 and was later taken out, that is the fear of any regime after that situation. To say, you said that if we gave up our nukes, we could stay.
And there were a lot of us at the time who said, you're making a big mistake because he's given up everything. We couldn't stop the hawks from wanting to go in and just get rid of Gaddafi. It was all part of the neocon plan, really, from the late 1990s. So you're going to get rid of all these regimes: the Syrians, the Libyans, the Sudanese, the Somalis, and finally Iran. It's been 20 years of this. We've made a mess out of the Middle East in many respects. We've created a huge wave of immigrants. And we may still need to go after Iran. Look, we can't allow them to have a nuclear weapon. And that has to be the unanimous opinion of Democrats and Republicans. They can't be looking to say, well, maybe these Democrats are going to say, no, it's too tough. No, we need to be tough. But there needs to be two parallel tracks, a military track and a diplomatic track.
It sounds like, I mean, just based on what we've been seeing, potentially that's the case. You think that's what we're doing at this point, those two tracks?
Well, I think there's an effort in that direction, but I'm not sure that we have really established where we're going with the diplomatic track. I do think the president's wise not to have said anything yesterday after the National Security Council meeting. Hold another one on Sunday after the golf game, and keep the pressure on, and keep putting out a few tweets on this. But you've got to actually have serious negotiations behind the scene. Can Steve Witkoff do it? I don't know. But maybe you pair him up with Wendy Sherman, who did the agreement and knows the Iranians and knows some of these people. Put the two of them together and let them go in there and root around. But start with a statement of principles. Give up on your aggressive plans in the region. You're not going to be a regional hegemon. Give up on the nuclear. Open up everything. And if you need nuclear energy, fine, you can buy it from us. Those are the sort of four foundational principles that they should be working on. Of course, that leaves adrift all of their terrorists and the Houthis and so forth. Yeah, and that's the whole idea. Cut those people off. Let them come to their own agreements and accommodations with us.